Hey, what's up guys? You're watching Frontcube TV. I'm Asim Najibdin. So in this Frontcube TV episode, we're going to look at an awesome Photoshop plugin or extension, if you will, called GuideGuide. So GuideGuide helps us to create pixel perfect grid systems and guides. So if you're a web designer, I know it's a real pain to create pixel perfect and precise grid systems and guides. So that's where GuideGuide comes into play. So let's get started.
Okay, head over to guideguide.me and you'll be able to access this beautiful website. And one of the really cool things that I like about this website is you can see a demo of this Photoshop extension even before you install into Photoshop. So for example, like, if you click this button, you can see the midpoints is coming up, and for the left and right margins and the top and the bottom margins is pretty awesome. Even you can give values to here. You can explore the custom grid notations, sets, and the settings. So before we further ado, I think it's good to install into our Photoshop. You can scroll a little bit to the bottom. Here you can see the choose a version above. So you need to select the version. You can select your version of Photoshop. I'm in Photoshop CC 2014, a little bit older, so you can select the version and you can download Photoshop. Once you download that, you will get a file called guideguide.zxp. All you need to do is you need to double click that to open up in Extension Manager. Here you can accept the terms and it's going to install into Photoshop. So now I'm going to close this. Let's fire up the Photoshop. Now you won't be able to see the panel, the GuideGuide panel here. So in order to enable that, go to Window, Extensions, and select GuideGuide. So now you have the GuideGuide panel. So you can toggle that by clicking this button. So for the demonstration, I'm going to create a canvas. Go to File, New, and the standard web canvas is fine for us. I'm going to click OK. Let's assume that we need to create guides around this canvas. So for that, the conventional procedure is to go to this ruler and click and drag to the point. So sometimes if your snap hasn't been enabled, that means it'll be hard to place the cursor. Sometimes it'll come 1 pixel or 2 pixel down or up. So you cannot make these precise guides. So one trick then you can do is go to View and select Snaps. So then the guide will snap to the object or the canvas which is close to it. So you see that it's a little bit time-consuming task. We can click and drag, but we can get the help of GuideGuide to draw this guide. So I'm going to clear the existing guides. Then now I'm going to draw the left, right guides and the top and the bottom guides. So now let's say we need to identify the exact midpoint of this canvas. We can get the midpoint of the horizontal by clicking this button, and get the vertical midpoint by clicking this icon or the button. Now you can see we can find out the exact midpoint. Now let's say if I want to draw a rectangle selection, I can place the cursor right here and hold down the Option or the Alt and Shift key, and I can draw a rectangular selection from the midpoint. And another cool feature is we can use GuideGuide to add guides to the selection. So let's say I have drawn this box. Now if I need to left and right margin guides, I can click this button again. It's going to drove the guides for me. And so let's play around the top part of these options. For that, I'm going to clear all the guides. Now you see when I clear all the guides, when the selection is on, it's only going to clear the guides that associate with this particular selection. You can still see the top, left, right, and the bottom guides are still available. In order to do that, what you can do is you can unselect this by hitting the Command D, and now if you hit the clear guides, those guides also will go away. So now let's say I need to add 20 pixels margin left and another 20 pixels margin right. So as you can see, once you just add the number, it's going to auto-complete with centimeters. So if I need this with pixels, I can pass pixels. If I need the margin with inches, I can parse inches. Okay, again, so you can check the documentation for all those kind of value. But so why we have given with centimeters? Because our the ruler is in centimeters. So you can do that by double clicking this, and it will open up the dialog box. Here you can see the rulers in centimeters. You don't need to come to this far. You can easily change the the measurements by right clicking on this ruler, and you can select the pixels. Now if I add number 20 for the right margin, and if I move to the next cell, it's going to auto complete with pixels, which is pretty neat. Now I'm going to add the bottom margin, and now if I make the grid, you can see I have perfectly precisely drawn guides around this canvas. Again, I can get the midpoints. I can draw some selection right here, and now if I make the grid, you can see this value is going to add it to the particular selection, which is pretty awesome. So rather than playing with this simple document, why don't we go ahead and create a real world example where we can use this awesome features of GuideGuide plugin or extension to solve a real world problem. So let's go ahead and create a new document. The same width and heights are fine for a web preset. Now I'm going to keep the left right margins as it is, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the column count. I'm going to add 12 columns, and for this demonstration I'm going to add the column width, and then I'll show you a quick trick how you can create fluid with grids. So for this demonstration, let's add 60, and the column gutter is going to be 20, and I'm not going to worry about this for now. I'm going to make the grid. Now you can see the GuideGuide drawn the grid for this document, and we have a little bit more space here because this is kind of a a static with grid. So what if I need a grid that is stretched across this particular canvas? In that case, I can delete the width, and I can clear these guides, and if I make the grid, you can see spread it across the canvas. Now we have 12 column grid across this canvas, which is pretty neat. And one of the thing that here you can see, you can see its other options here, column midpoints. So if I enable this column midpoints, what it's going to do is going to add another guide for this column midpoint, which I feel it won't make much sense for me. Most of the time I use the grid midpoint, and I disable this column midpoint. So, okay, so next let's say I'm using this preset over and over again, so it's a pretty tedious task to add this number, or I need to remember all this number. So GuideGuide provide a really awesome feature. You can click this button, you can add a name for this. Let's add 12 pixel wide. Let's save the preset. Now I have the preset right here, and now let's say if I clear all these values, one of the feature that I miss from this new update is the tab key doesn't work anymore. So I need to click each and every cell. So I hope Cameron will fix that in the next version. So if I clear all these guides, now if I need that same grid system, I can go to sets, and I can select the particular grid that we created earlier, and I can make the grid, which is pretty cool. So the next question come to our mind, okay, what if I need to upgrade to the other Photoshop version and reinstall GuideGuide? So this settings will go away. So, we have an option for that in GuideGuide. You can go to settings. Here you can export sets. So if once you export the sets, it's going to create a GitHub gist file for you. So you can open up in browser. You can see the gist right here. So whenever you reinstall Photoshop and GuideGuide, then you can come here and go to settings, and you can import sets by adding this URL. The next thing I'm going to show you how you can a little bit spice this up. Rather than only using, the guides, you can also create a visual grid. So for that, you can go to the rectangular tool and select and draw a rectangular in the first column of the grid. And then you can give a color. Normally, I will give kind of a red color for this. And then, you can down the opacity of this to like 10 percentage. So the grid contains 12 columns. So I have one, so I'm going to duplicate this. In order to duplicate this, you can drag and drop into this new layer, or else you can hit Command J key. So I have 2 columns now. I'm going to hit 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now make sure the last column is selected, and you can go to Move tool, and now select and drag. While you're dragging, hold the Shift key, and now you can get right here, and it will snap to the last column. And now what you can do is you can select all the columns, and now come here and get this distributed left edges. And now you can have the visual grid right here, and you can drag everything into a folder, and you can call this as grid, and you can lock that. Now if you want, you can toggle these guides by going View, Show Guides, or simply you can toggle that inside GuideGuide by clicking this eyeball icon, which is pretty neat. Another important thing that I wanted to show you, if you add any values to the grid, you can see the GuideGuide writing notation for that. So if you go to the custom, you can see the GuideGuide notation. So it's a little bit advanced stuff. If you want to learn that, you can go to GuideGuide website. Here they have the grid notation. Here you can learn how to write the grid with notation. But why don't worry about that? Why bother about that? Because we have pretty nice interface. And by the time I'm recording this, GuideGuide 4 beta is available. You can see it has pretty nice features and a pretty nice interface, and obviously the setting has gone, so I'm not sure how we're going to export and import in the newer versions. I hope Cameron will have an answer for that. So even like another thing that I want to show you, if in the grid system we have created this, I'm going to toggle back, and if I want to add the row, so the row count is a little bit hard to count in this canvas, so I'm going to leave that blank. I'm going to I'm going to clear this all things out. Again, I'm missing the tab key functionality. So now I'm going to at the row height like 20 pixels, and the gutter as 20 pixels, and if I make the grid, you can see I will have perfect grid here, and then I can work around with the line heights and everything with the grid, so which is a pretty awesome. So so I think that's it for this episode. I hope you will like it, and please let me know if you guys using any other grid system or grid plugins for Photoshop or any other tools. As always, we're really keen to learn from you guys.
Great. I hope you enjoyed the episode. So if you found the GuideGuide is a useful tool in your workflow, make sure to donate for the plugin. So it'll be helpful for the development process as well. So if you find our channel is useful, and make sure to subscribe. I'm not sure where the subscribe button is available. You can find somewhere around here, and share with your friend. That's it. That will give a sense that we are doing a good job and people getting use of our work and our effort. Thank you. Hope to see you soon in the next episode. Cheers. Bye.